and welcome to my channel, Run With Me at 50 Plus. Today, as you can see in the description, I am going to be doing a recap of my very first marathon. Now, I typically want to show you guys the hardware and the items that you get at the expo. So here is a picture of the medal that we received at the marathon. This is the Museum of Aviation Foundation Marathon, and it took place in Warner Robins, Georgia. So that is where this race took place. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have a list of questions that I like to go through when I'm doing the recap of these marathons, and they are travel, expo, pre-race day dinner, the race morning prep, food and drink, the race itself, and the after race dinner and other activities. So with that being said, we are going to start with travel. Okay, so I do not live very far from this area, Warner Robins, so I just drove down the day of the race. Typically, if I'm far away from a race, I'll either fly or drive the day before and get there so I can have time to do the expo and everything. With that being said, I drove down the day of the race. The drive was fine, everything was good. I think the race started about 6 or 7. My very first marathon took place in January of 2015. That was actually 10 years ago. But like I said, I'm doing a recap of all of the marathons that I am going to be doing in every single state. So I did want to go back to my very first one and do a video leading all the way up to where I am in present time. So yes, this was 10 years ago. So I was 40 years old when I did my very first marathon. Like I said, the travel was fine. We got there and the race started. Now, the expo, as I stated, since I drove down there, I did not attend the expo the day before. So I actually picked up my race bib and my t-shirt and all the goodies that they give out at the expo the morning of the race. I don't really recommend that. I don't recall having a whole lot of issues with that. But yeah, I typically like to go down so I can, see what's going on in the expo, see what the vendors have, the different new shoes that are coming out, the new sock, the new fueling systems that, are being introduced and things like that. But anyway, I was able to get my race bib and my goodie bag with my t-shirt and everything in it. And I had time to actually take it back to my vehicle. So that is what I did. So like I said, this race was in January of 2015. All right, so next thing, the pre-race day dinner. The night before or the day before the race, I do not recall what I ate actually, because like I said, this was 10 years ago. So more than likely it was probably typical, food that I eat on a daily basis, because I hadn't really got into dialing in a fueling system and what you should do and don't do before a marathon. This is my very first marathon, so I was new to the whole marathon fueling system. So I can't even recall what I ate as my pre-race day dinner. Next question. What did I eat the morning of the race? So I had about a 2.5 hour drive there. So I know I had coffee because I was on my coffee kick there. So I had coffee. More than likely I had a banana as well. I don't like to fuel a whole lot before runs. So those I know would probably be 2 things that I had, and I do not recall what else I had. So next, moving on to the race itself. What actually took place in the race? Now, oddly enough, I don't remember all the other questions previous to this, but each one of the marathons that I have been able to be a part of, I do remember the actual race. That is just so odd. I guess that is the divine telling me that yes, you are supposed to be in the moment, have the experience, and remember what took place. So the race itself was out on a runway. So you had the runway where the planes come in and out. and you know, they do testing and everything out there, so we were kind of like out there on the where the majority of the race was out there on a runway for airplanes. So that was really cool. One is because that is actually flat, and it was also cool doing that run. So now I do remember race morning. It was cold. It was actually in the 20s when we started this race, like 25, 27, something along those lines. But we did start out, and I actually remember my hair. I think I had it like, my hair wasn't even locked at the time. I actually still had loose hair, and I had it flat ironed. So I don't know what I thought was going to take place, but I do recall getting my hair done the day before, and it was nicely flat ironed. No caps or anything. I didn't wear any hats. So yeah, so that's the way the race started. So, you know, we took off down the the runway, and we were off. Okay. So I'm just running, enjoying the morning. It was cold, but it was sunny. So, you know, just running, nothing out of the ordinary. The race, you know, I stopped by the fueling stations, and I got Gatorades and waters and, you know, the different snacks that they had along the course. At that time, I did not have a running vest. I was not running with a running vest. So that was that. Said I stopped along the places at the race aid stations, and I picked up what they had there as the fuel. I do recall everything was going good. You know, I'm running. I'm getting a little winded. It's my first marathon. It's tough. It's hard and everything. But I specifically remember getting to mile 19. When I got to mile 19, my calves locked up. I remember I was just running, and the muscle just tightened up. I said, "Oh boy, here we go." So from mile 19 all the way to mile 26.2, which was 7.2 miles, I had to do more walking than running. I mean, it was almost like every time I tried to pick, you know, my walk back up and start jogging, that muscle would tighten up. So that is kind of the method I did all the way till the end of the run. And I was starting to get a little bit discouraged. I still remember my emotions, my feelings, and things like that, because I could feel that I had been out there a long time. And also, you know, we got to think about, this was my very first marathon. So long time to me, 5 and 6 hours was really long in my head. I mean, now when I think about a marathon, you know, that is pretty much kind of the average of your everyday runner doing a marathon, somewhere between 5 and 7 hours to be exact. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been out here so long. So I was starting to get discouraged. So eventually I did that run, walk, trying to trot all the way into mile 26.2. And when I approached the finish line, I saw them starting to kind of break down things. A lot of the spectators and participants had left and everything, but I was determined to finish. But like I said, that still had put a little bit of a damper on my spirits. So when I ran in, there was this guy who kind of ran in behind me, and it was a couple of other people. So I think I saw about maybe 5 to 10 people come in after me. And so that led me to believe that, okay, yeah, you were very close to the end of the group. So once I got into the finish line, I found, you know, my time out, and my time was actually 5 hours, 51 minutes. I think that race had a cutoff of 6 hours. So I was 9 minutes shy of the cutoff time. So I was what they call now as at the back of the pack, literally. But that was my first marathon, and I still remember it. And, you know, I had a lot of things that I've changed as of now, things that I can reflect back on. But, you know, you do these things so that you can learn and progress as you go along. But that was the very first marathon that I did in January of 2015. And so for the very last question is, what was my after race dinner and other activity? Basically what I did was, after that race, if it started around 6, around I guess maybe noontime to 12:30, 1 o'clock, I got back on the road and drove 2.5 hours back to my home. I stopped off and I got something to eat. I'm not even sure what restaurant it was at, but I do recall stopping to get some food, and I drove back home. And that is basically what took place for my very first marathon back in January 2015. And like I said, I just want to do a recap of these marathons so that I can just kind of remember, what I did and how I am progressing as I continue on through my 50-state marathon challenge. So also, for those who may be new to my channel, who may be unaware, I am also going to be a part of the Dopey Challenge in January of 2026. That's the Run Disney series down in Orlando, Florida. It takes place from January 7th through January the 11th, 2026. So if you are interested in assisting me with raising money for the Team Kid No Kid Hungry organization, then please click that link in the description below and donate if you can. If not, then please share this information with others that may be able to help out and assist. So this is going to end this recap of my very first marathon. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.